What's up, guys? You know what? So I can't leave this walk away campaign alone. I want to capitalize while, strike while the iron is hot. I didn't want to include this in my video yesterday just because I didn't want it to be too long. But there is one other huge elephant in the room as far as reasons why I walked away from the Democratic Party and I will never, ever vote for the Democratic Party again. And that reason is the myth that the party switched. At some point along history in America, that the Democratic Party and Republican Party magically did a big switch, and the Democrats, the bad guys, suddenly became the good guys, and the Republicans were the good guys and went from the good guys to being the bad guys. That Southern strategy that Richard Nixon wanted to campaign in the South just to be competitive is a myth. And the fact that I was taught that in school, knowing that the facts are out there, that the parties never switch, it just pisses me off. It's just a further validation that the public school system is failed. The fact that the government controls the indoctrination, they control the curriculum, therefore they control the narrative. It makes you wonder, what are kids learning today that we're going to see down the road is a lie? They're going to wake up and realize, wow, I was duped. They told me Donald Trump was a fascist. They told me Barack Obama was one of the greatest presidents in history. Kids could very well be learning that right now. I don't have kids right now, but when I do, you best believe I'll either be homeschooling them or sending them to private school or charter school, something else. They're not going to public school just because it's such a fallacy that, you can teach someone whatever you want them to learn and the parents have no say-so in it. The curriculum is all messed up. So anyway, I don't want to get off on a tangent. I want to talk about how the Democrat and Republican Party never switched. And I don't need all of the dates and all the historical facts for it because it's just so plain to see. How about this? We all know the Republican Party was founded in 1854 in opposition to slavery, right? To keep it from expanding to the West. And, the Civil War happened as a result of it. And they won. And the Republican Party supported the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments for slaves. Freeing the slaves, making them citizens, allowing them to vote. The Democratic Party was against it, against all three of those amendments, right? Then you have the first black politician ever was Republican. Martin Luther King was Republican. The only reason that there was a switch was the black voter switched from the Republican Party to the Democratic Party. So the only strategy that really happened was the welfare strategy. That's right. The LBJ Act, I believe it was 1964, the Great Society Act, where he realized, okay, well, blacks are voting now, so that means that their vote makes a difference. We have to figure out a way to get them. I'm probably butchering the quote, but he pretty much said, I'll have those N-words voting Democrat for the next 200 years. We have to give them something, but not enough to make a difference. So insert the Great Society Welfare Act. And then ever since that Welfare Act, single motherhood in the black community is up like 73% since the 1960s. Also, the Planned Parenthood, Margaret Sanger was like a lady Ku Klux Klan member. And she talked about eugenics and how black people need to be controlled by weeds. These are all facts that you guys can look up. For anybody that's going to come in the comment section, talk about this walk away movement, is people bragging about going from Democrat to Republican. It's not even about that. It's about breaking away from the narratives, detaching yourself from your victimhood status, this sacred cow status that's been given to you by the Democrats, and become a sovereign, free-thinking individual that you were born to be. It's your divine purpose to be a free-thinking, independent person. So back to this whole Democrat-Republican switch, right? So you had Margaret Sanger with Planned Parenthood, which, by the way, Planned Parenthoods are mostly in minority communities. Go look across all of America. They're mostly in minority communities. Eugenics is a real thing. They're actually doing eugenics in Iceland right now. But eugenics in America was used to, try to exterminate the black race. And with the Welfare Act that was passed by LBJ, that got black people voting Democrat. But the difference is they had to get the parent out of the home, the father out of the home. So what did that do? That means kids were growing up without a parent, without their father. And then you incentivize single mothers to marry the government. And then fathers weren't able to get jobs. They were locked up. And then insert Bill Clinton in the 90s with his Crime Bill Act, supported by Democrats, not supported by Republicans. See, it's coincidence, right? Right? You're going to say the party switched, yet the Republicans have had their fingerprints all over everything having to do with freedom. They've always been the party of freedom. The Democratic Party has always been the party of slavery, Jim Crow, KKK, all the segregation laws. You know, they voted against all of the civil rights legislation. They filibustered stuff, you know. That filibuster rule was made famous by Democrats, you know. So Bill Clinton, with his crime bill, locked up more black men than any other president in United States history. Okay, so the historical facts are there. But if people want to deny the historical facts, okay, let's talk about modern day Democratic Party, modern day slavery, modern day slave plantations. Okay, so use the eye test. Go to any mostly black Democrat run city. You know, your Cleveland, your Chicago, Detroit, Baltimore, Philadelphia, Memphis, Oakland. They're shithole cities. I mean, let's call it what it is. I mean, these cities have all the elements of a modern day slave plantation. You have your Democratic mayor, your poverty pimp, your Maxine Waters. These are the gatekeepers. These are the plantation owners, you know, or plantation masters. They're pretty much just running the show. They come out, get your vote every 4 years or every 2 years, and they talk about what they're going to give you, while also smearing Republicans, talking about Republicans want to take away your freedom, want to take away your handouts, your programs, your housing, your food. Republicans, all they want to do is suggest that you're smart enough to do it on your own. You don't need the government. But black people, their minds have been conditioned. And not just black people, I mean Hispanics too. Pretty much anyone that's below the poverty line, living in one of these cities, they feel like the Democrats are really for them. So they follow that narrative. They believe into it. They're a sacred cow. They're part of the group. They're part of the identity group where it's like, you're the victim. Vote for me. I'll make sure you have food stamps. We're going to get you reparations. People eat that up, man. People eat it up. But the modern day slave plantation has all the elements. You have the slave master, which is a congresswoman like Maxine Waters, or a mayor. You have your Al Sharptons. You have your poverty pimps. Then you have substandard housing. You have your handouts, which is pretty much just like master giving out the scraps, giving out food. Master's taking good care of you. Then it's overrun with police, you know, locking people up. There's a lot of crime. You don't have fathers in the homes. You have Planned Parenthood on every corner. You have failing infrastructure in these cities. And most of them had Democratic mayors since like the 40s, the 50s, the 60s. So you tell me if the party's really switched. I can't tell, because if you're looking at every one of these cities I just mentioned, how can you say that the party's actually switched and Democrats are for the people? You know, and now they found their new sacred cow. They've moved on from black people. Democrats are so over black people. Their new sacred cow, their new residual voting block that they're trying to finesse is the illegal immigrants. And what are they selling? They're selling, come on over here. They're using that big welfare magnet, bringing people up from Central and South America, knowing they're going to go on welfare right away. They're going to have kids here. They're going to bring kids over. They want instant amnesty for them because they know that that's going to build a residual voting block for them. That is all they want to do. So I could never vote for Democrats ever again. And don't ever talk to me about how the party switched. If the party switched, it would be so evident. These cities that are run by Democrats would be socialist utopias. They would just be utopias. There'd be trees sprouting everywhere. It'd be never a cloudy day in Cleveland. Jobs would be booming. Schools would be the best in the nation. No, instead it's some of the worst in the nation. So that's all I have to say about the party switch. And that's all the more reason why it's time to walk away. You know, it's time to walk away. It's time. If you didn't know this, look it up. It's all online. I know I didn't state everything as far as like it was this date, this time, this person. But the Southern strategy was an absolute myth. You know, Richard Nixon was never trying to get the Southern Democrats to vote for Democrats. He's never trying to get them to, or the Republicans in the South. He was never trying to get them, the Democrats actually, sorry. Long day, guys. He was never trying to get the Democrats in the South to vote Republican. You can look it up. And as far as the big switch, only like 9 people switched. I think Dinesh D'Souza actually even said it was less than that. But if somebody wants to debunk it, please come in the comment section. But I need you to be fact-based. I need thought-driven responses. And I need you to list out every single Democrat from the South that flipped and became Republican. But you also need to realize that the Democrats still held seats in the South until the 90s. So if the big switch happened back in the 50s or 60s, then how were Democrats still running the South and against civil rights acts of the 1960s? That's really all I have to say about it, guys. But this is an extension of my walk away video. I really wanted to include it yesterday. I'm glad I was able to kind of get it out today. Thank you so much for everybody that's following me now. Like, my social media accounts are booming. If you're new to the channel, please follow me on Twitter. Please. My Twitter account has been blowing up because somebody, like a couple people, retweeted my video from yesterday, and it's blowing up, man. But yeah, please follow me on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. You can find me, just search Magnificent. If you want to donate to the channel, there's links in the description to do so, and I will catch you guys in the next video.